Hello, this is Joshua and welcome back to our lecture series in Biochem 1. So for this video, we'll be discussing about the biochemistry and the organization of cells now. Okay, so provided on the next slide are the specific topics that we will be covering for this series. Okay, so this is the topic outline for this lecture. Okay, so these are the things that we will be covering for this video. Before anything else, now let's ask the question, what is biochemistry? No? I'll just read with you the following definitions. No? According to Merriam-Webster, biochemistry is the study of chemistry that deals with the chemical compounds and processes occurring in organism. Okay, another definition says that the study of biochemistry shows how the collection of inanimate molecules that constitute living organisms interact to maintain and perpetuate life. Now, so animated solely by the physical and chemical laws that govern the non-living universe. And then another definition provides that biochemistry describes in molecular terms, the structure, mechanism, and chemical processes shared by all organisms and provides organizing principles that underlie life in all its diverse forms. So principle we refer to collectively as the molecular logic of life. So that being said, we should note that biomolecules should conform to all the physical and chemical laws that describe the behavior of inanimate matter, as do all the processes occurring in living organisms. So this is actually the relationship of biology with that of chemistry and with that of physics. So to start the lecture, we'll be talking about basic themes. So different types of organisms, such as that of humans, and even individual cells of which they are made of, are too complex, However, there are certain features that are common, to all living things, such as that of their composition. You have here biomolecules, and that they all use energy to function. Since we said that different organisms have some same features, they can be studied using the methods of chemistry and physics. Under chemistry, we'll be studying here the different biological processes of living organisms. So dito na papasok yung mga common metabolic pathways. How does the reaction occur, etc. Whereas under physics naman, it tells us about the allowable reactions. If it is following the fundamental laws of nature, energetics, specifically bioenergetics, and so on. So since sinabi natin na different organisms have some similar features, we could actually use that to speculate on the origins of life, to answer the question of how did these complex molecules came about. We know that both cells and biomolecules of which they are made of must have ultimately arisen from very simple molecules, such as that of water, methane, carbon dioxide, etc. So we can say that the atomic composition of these compounds, or of those compounds, are the precursor of life, of us. So now what? What's the implication of that? The implication is that it allows us to answer questions relating to the molecular nature of life processes. In order to understand what are biomolecules, of course, we have to study kung saan sila nanggaling. And this is where organic chemistry enters the picture. So there's a saying in Biochem that you can easily understand the course if you know the fundamentals of Org-Chem. So later we'll know why. We know that organic chemistry is the study of the compounds of carbon and hydrogens along with their derivatives. Of course, with some exemption. And also, we should be aware that biomolecules are part of the subject matter of organic chemistry. So therefore, that is the reason why the reactions of biomolecules can be described via the methods of organic chemistry. Now, in the early part of the 19th century, Okay, there was a widely held belief in the vital forces, no? Okay, so these forces that are presumably unique, no, to living organisms, no? Said belief included the idea that the compounds in the living organism cannot be produced in the laboratory, no? However, this particular experiment by Waller in the 1828 disproved, no, once and for all the idea of vital forces, no? So how? Okay, in his experiment, no, he was able to synthesize urea, okay, a well-known waste product of animal metabolism. If you still remember your ureotelic organisms, okay, from ammonium cyanate, no, which is a compound derived from minerals, no, so non-living things, so to speak. So dito napakita na compounds that occur in living organism can be synthesized in the laboratory, but of course there are still limitations. Moving on, okay, this slide just provides you the level of structural organization in our body. No, it also shows you the basis of the speculation that we've made earlier na nagsimula sa simplest molecule, yung complex na tao, of who and what we are made of. So you can just follow the arrow, no, leading from your atoms, okay, leading to who or to what we are. Okay, so what's the importance of studying or knowing your functional group in biochemistry, no? It's this. The reaction of biomolecules can actually be described by the methods of organic chemistry, okay, which require the classification of your compounds according to their functional groups, no? So we know that the reaction of molecules are actually based on the reactions of their specific functional group. So that's why it's a plus if you still remember them, no? So listed on table 1.1 are some of your functional groups, no? So this slide shows you the formation of ATP, no, your adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so in biochemistry, carbon-containing derivatives of phosphoric acid are of vital importance, no, such as that of esters and anhydrides of phosphoric acids. No, why? Because ATP, okay, the considered energy currency of the cell, contains both esters and anhydride linkage involving phosphoric acids. Now, so as we go along in our lecture, okay, so we'll know why ATP is the most suitable energy currency of the cell. Okay, so we move on to how and when the Earth came to be. No? So currently, the most widely accepted theory for the origin of the universe is the Big Bang, no? A cataclysmic explosion. No? So according to this theory, all the matter in the universe was originally confined in a very small space, no? Sometimes called as your primordial fireball. Now, as a result, the said fireball started to expand, okay, with great force. Immediately after the explosion, no, so the universe was extremely hot with a temperature approximately 15 billion Kelvin. So however, note that the average temperature of the universe has been decreasing ever since. Okay, so why? For simplicity, okay, let us assume that the early universe, the primordial fireball, is resembling that of a monoatomic gas. So we know that the temperature of such gas is defined in terms of the average kinetic energy of the particles. Now, it's not that the particles are losing energy. It's that the expanding universe is decreasing the pressure of this theoretical gas, and we know that temperature is pressure dependent, no? And that this decrease in temperature actually permitted the formation of stars and planets and then eventually life, no? So in the early stage of the universe, the only elements present are the following, no? So you have your hydrogen, your helium, and then your lithium, and that other elements were just formed via these three processes. So you have your thermonuclear reactions in stars, your explosion of stars, and then the actions of cosmic rays outside the star. So, listed here, no, are the gases present in the atmosphere of the early Earth. No? As you can see, there was no oxygen. Why? Because oxygen was actually a consequence of the great oxidation event, no? Sometimes referred to as your oxygen catastrophe or your oxygen holocaust, no? This event was actually catalyzed by your cyanobacteria, no, that have adopted, okay, the use of carbon dioxide instead of carbon disulfide during photosynthesis, no? Arguably, the great oxidation event, no, okay, was the first ever major, okay, mass extinction event, no? So why? Because as we've said, no, in the early earth, since there was no oxygen present pa, okay, the atmosphere was very anoxic. So it follows, okay, that the energy generating metabolism of the primitive cells, no, was exclusively, okay, anaerobic, no? So they probably obtained carbon from your carbon dioxide and obtained energy, no, from hydrogen, likely generated from your hydrogen sulfide, no, reacting with UV light, no? So experiments have actually demonstrated that the first biomolecules, no, such as that of your proteins, K, and nucleic acids could have actually arisen under abiotic conditions, no, that set the stage for the origin of life. Now there are actually two hypotheses, K, with regards to the origin of cellular life, no? You have here your surface and subsurface origin hypothesis, no? Okay, so the surface origin hypothesis contends, no, that the first membrane enclosed self-replicating cell actually arose out of your primordial soup, no? This soup was said to be rich, okay, in organic and inorganic compounds, no, in ponds on the Earth's surface, no? However, note that the dramatic temperature fluctuations, no, and mixing, okay, from meteor impacts, okay, what else? Dust clouds, no, and storms, no, argue against this hypothesis. Okay, so subsurface origin hypothesis, on the other hand, no, states that life originated at your hydrothermal springs on your ocean floor, no? Conditions would have been more stable and there's a steady supply of energy, no, such as that of your hydrogen and that of your hydrogen sulfide, no? So provided here is the picture of your hydrothermal springs. Okay, so moving on, no, living cells, no, include very large molecules, no, otherwise known as your, okay, macromolecules, no, such as your proteins, your nucleic acids, your carbohydrates, or sometimes known as your polysaccharides, and then your lipids, no. So these biomolecules are said to be polymers, no. It's a Greek word which translates to many parts. So they are actually derived, okay? So they are actually derived from your monomers, no, such as here you have amino acids to proteins, you have here your nucleotides to nucleic acids, okay, you have here your monosaccharides to polysaccharides, okay, so you have here your glycerol and 3 fatty acids to lipids, okay. So as we go along, okay, we'll be discussing one by one, no, each of these. Okay, so moving to informational macromolecules, no, you have here a strand of DNA. So, note that ngayon pa lang, ang tamang pagbasa ng DNA would always start from 5' to 3'. And no, aside from that, what do you call the linkage of your DNA? No, you call it your phosphodiester bond. And it's also stabilized by your hydrogen bonding. No? So, now for your polypeptide segment, you have here your protein. Okay, so for this specific example, no, the bond between your is it your phenylalanine, K, and your serine, K, is called as your peptide bond, no? So it is the bond between two consecutive alpha amino acids, no? Or in other words, okay, it's the alpha carboxyl group bonded to another alpha amino group. So note that the sequence of polypeptide segment is always NCC, no? So nitrogen bonded to carbon bonded to another carbon. So there. Now, moving on to your polysaccharide chain, okay? So this is your carbohydrates, no? So the bond between the two consecutive glucose is called O glycosidic bond. No? So this is the bond between the anomeric carbon of a saccharide with O, no, in the hydroxyl group of your alcohol from another saccharide. No? So we'll discuss this further on the following lecture series.